Ikiwa ni wiki ya ubunifu nchini Tanzania kwa mwaka 2021 iliyoanza rasmi tarehe 17 Mei mpaka tarehe 22 Mei kwa mkoa wa Dar es Salaam, wabunifu mbalimbali wamekutana na kujadili mustakabali wa ubunifu ili kukuza uchumi nchini. Akizungumza katika mjadala ulioendeshwa jana jijini Dar es Salaam, Jumanne Mtambalike, mmoja wa wabunifu kutoka Sahara Ventures, ameeleza jitihada za serikali katika mchango wa kukuza na kuwasaidia wabunifu nchini.
What I'm so proud of, I think the first thing is the Commission for Science and Technology Tanzania. I think we should clap for them. We might take for granted the work that has been done by Katika, but believe me, in so many other African ecosystems, the government is not this much involved with the innovation ecosystem. The work that Katika has been doing since 2010, during the days of Dr. Mshinda, when my good friend Dr. Nungo was still with Telnet, the work that has been done has been amazing, providing that platform for young people to go there, to nurture and grow their career. I started my career there. I was given an opportunity to tweak around, to mess staffs, couple of letters of warning. Trying to be a crazy person in a public office can be difficult sometimes. So Katika has provided that platform for us to be able to do this work. So I'm very proud for the work that Katika has been doing. And I'm very supportive, and I'll continue to commit myself to work with them.
Naye mmoja wa wachangiaji mada wa mjadala huo, Dr. Frola Ismail kutoka Namibia, amejibu swali la nadharia ya kuwa ubunifu ni suluhisho la ajira kwa vijana na kueleza kuwa ubunifu unaweza kuwa ni ajira ama isiwe ikitegemea na mazingira.
We look at innovation as an impetus or a stimulus to diversify and contextualize the products, processes and services that bring us closer to the markets that we serve. And so in that, we're trying to really spur collaboration between these the SADC region as a whole and connected to developed markets. But looking at that, and it's been mentioned by Iku and others who've spoken before, Africa is really complex when you talk about employment, when you talk about jobs. What does it mean? And it doesn't help that we have all these global trends that are coming. We have the fourth industrial revolution, which Jumanne has already tried to pilot in Tanzania and push this agenda, being called crazy, and digitalization included. We have our own Tanzanian, and our speakers are Tanzanian here, our own industrialization agenda, which wants to mechanize and automate all our different industries. And then we have this very young, energetic, youthful population that is really hungry for jobs. And if you look, and I'll speak a little bit more about the education or towards the education, where we have seen a surge of employment, graduates coming out of universities but not getting jobs. So what do we do with these? So we have players, actors in the ecosystem that are trying to bring and solutions to the unemployment problem and create jobs. And innovation provides some diversity in all of this. It is not a silver bullet, I would say, but it is that stimulus that allows the ecosystem to find solutions, and how these solutions are sought, where then government can take them on board and find policies and regulations, or design policies and regulations for that matter, that actually suit that system. So that what Dr. Nungo was talking about in the morning, that government creates an enabling environment and the innovators then can respond and act on those. But in some cases, innovation can also inform government policy and provide solutions that way. When you look at the jobs that we're going for at the moment, and COVID has almost catapulted us into this situation of digitalization without giving us enough time to think it through. I think there was a lot of dialogue before COVID about the fourth IR and governments wanting to set up strategies. Tanzania took on e-government and all these things. However, it was a little slow, and COVID just said, you know what, guys, it's time, do it now. And governments have had to quickly pivot, and those that didn't obviously have suffered the consequences of that. But however, those that were able and were ready with technology, then they have done a little better than the others. And obviously, the rest of the world is really coming on board with this. And jobs, what I would say going into the future, are really going to be knowledge driven. So questions come to us as, how are we and I speak now then for sub-Saharan Africa, how are we going to make sure that the rural populations that are not yet connected, that have not the hubs of universities and knowledge centers surrounding them, going to make it work? So are we going to increase disparity? I think those are the critical questions that we need to sort of think through now as we really address COVID and move to remote working and all these virtual platforms. How do you make sure that it is going to remain inclusive? Other question is how, and Joseph spoke to this earlier, how do we ensure resilience? And how do we look at that? And so what we're doing as a program in SAIS is trying to assist governments that we're working with to look at trends, have foresight embedded into government policies. How do you look forward and look backward and design your policies in a way that will allow you to see what might happen, create all these different scenarios that allow you to sort of think through, if this happens, what will I do? How will I pivot? And when do I need to pivot? And what capacities and competencies, facilities, infrastructure do I need to have that will allow me to pivot and address whatever challenges I may or may not face? And you can see that governments that have foresight embedded into their strategic planning have done a little better than those that do not. And so providing this competence and this necessary skill for me, I think, is one of the critical ways that we can do this. A last thing, and David also spoke to this, innovation is a multi-helix thing. It has different actors. Building an ecosystem is just that. It's very complex. It's not going to have one person, one role, and one responsibility. And more importantly, it's going to have to be iterated. Every new day, every new scenario is going to be slightly different. So we've got to be constantly forward thinking, looking back to evaluate and analyze, but always looking forward to say what might happen, how will it happen, and what are we going to do about it? So jobs in the future, tricky, but doable, I think. We just have to make sure that all actors are on board, and the platform like the Innovation Week is great because it does that. It does exactly that, bringing all these great minds together to discuss how they do things and what they need to do together. So just speaking also to what JP mentioned, collaboration is key.